about to receive, may the Lord make us truly thankful. Amen.
Amen. Potatoes, dumplings is under the beef.
Thank you, Mary. I can feel them.
Greens. Go on, have a go. Good for you.
This meat is rather tough, Griselda.
I know, darling. All meat is nowadays. But try to eat it. We've such a lot to do this afternoon, and we're already so late.
Well, what do you expect, having meals in all the wrong rooms?
Suppose we should be eating a nice, cool salad.
Well, with the state of the world as it is, Mrs. Clement, we should be thankful for any food that is set before us.
Now, Ronnie, you've been here 6 months now. You really can't go and call me Mrs. Clement. My name is Griselda. I am sorry I'm such a shocking housekeeper.
Perhaps if you used a little more thought.
I do, but it always seems worse when I'm trying.
It certainly does.
Now that's enough from you.
Carrots, but they ain't cooked.
Gosh.
Raw carrots are good for the eyesight. I am sorry I'm not a housekeeper by nature. I just find it better when I leave things to Mary and make up my mind to be uncomfortable and awful things to eat.
We always do have awful things to
I
eat.
can't hear a word. Hello? Yes, speaking. Oh, hello, Colonel. No, I haven't forgotten. I told you I'd have the accounts ready. Yes, of course. Good afternoon.
The big bad wolf, eh?
Yes, my esteemed and worthy churchwarden, Colonel Trotwell.
He is a pompous old fool.
Dennis.
Darling, we know because the Colonel's wealthy. He's the pop and save the parish. But he likes nobody, and nobody likes him. And you don't, any more than we do. You're all roughed and bothered whenever you see him.
I do not get ruffled and bothered.
Oh, the things I heard you say when
about
he's
swallowing
gone.
in the village.
It's Miss Hartnell's pound note.
I thought you said she put a 10 bob on the plate.
She did, but she swears it was a pound.
Oh, you must owe us now to the highest note is.
The congregation likes to know.
She's short-sighted anyway.
Yes, I told her none of us are as young as we were.
I bet that put the lid on it.
It did. She said that the whole thing had a bad look, and was surprised that I didn't think so too.
And off she trotted to the dear Colonel.
Well, do you think the Colonel would bother with such a trifling amount?
Unfortunately, yes. He likes to make a big fuss about anything. He actually wants to check the church's accounts for deficiencies.
What?
Well, we know. Well, he must have some fun. No one goes around calling him dear Vicar or embroidering slippers for him.
And giving him bed socks for Christmas.
Oh dear.
Oh, Ronnie, is it as bad as that?
Oh no, Mrs. Clement, I'm afraid I'm not very hungry. It's not one of my good days. I need to go outside to get some air. Please excuse me.
I am sorry. He hardly eats a thing.
Well, I don't wonder, Griselda. You were trained in the army to eat all of this. We weren't.
Darling, do you think as Ronnie's so delicate, we should insist he find lodging? Somewhere where they could cook?
Maybe, but he seems happy enough here.
He's not going to leave, even if he was starving to death. He loves Griselda, the old trick.
Thanks.
I wonder if the Colonel suspects me of embezzling with church funds.
Darling, no one would suspect you of anything. You're so transparently honest. You really would make a most wonderful crook.
Uncle Len, a crook?
When's the Colonel coming to put you in the spot?
Tomorrow evening at 6:15. I'm not looking forward to it.
Never mind. As a treat, I'll get you some fish cakes.
I'll just shout and blast them would be no farther ahead.
Don't understand why he has to be so unpleasant. Someone will bump him off one of these days.
I hate to say it, but they'd be doing the world a favor if they did.
Well, listen to you, the vicar. That'll be remembered against you, Uncle Len.
Go on, get on with it.
What are you doing this afternoon, Miss Elsa?
My duty.
Oh?
We're pricing articles for the faith with suitable scandal thrown in.
Who's coming?
Just the committee, and Prothero, Mem Sahib, and that terrible Miss Marple.
I'd never describe Miss Marple as terrible.
Well, under that angelic exterior, you know perfectly well she's the worst cat in the village.
Well now, Mem Sahib Price Ridley is a far worse cat than Marple. I'll get her back one day for the things she's been saying about Lettice.
What's she been saying?
Plenty.
She would stop with that awful racket in her garden.
Yes, so do I.
You'd think paying those kids 3 pence an hour would be enough to keep the birds off her fruit. Mary, we're not ready yet.
Okay, but it's Sandy McPherson at 2:15.
Dennis, would you bring me Macamara from the farm this afternoon?
I'm sorry, but I shall not be going. I'm playing golf.
With Lettice?
Yes, as a matter of fact.
I wondered why you looked so clean.
Gosh, look at the time. You wouldn't mind if I got going, would you?
No, go on.
Don't you want any pudding?
No thanks, Griselda. The dumplings were quite enough.
Griselle, indeed. No respect for his aunt.
Well, you're only his aunt because you married me. He means no harm.
I know. He's very sweet.
I'm glad you two get on. Boys can be so difficult.
I think that Dennis is almost a man. I suppose I shall have to get the man myself. Seems Lettice also thinks Dennis is growing up.
What have you got there?
Oh, nothing. Just a note. Dennis must have dropped it. No, I think Lettice is developing into a bit of a man-eater.
Why, Lettice is only a child.
Is she? I wonder. I think there's something queer about the whole Cruthworld household.
Darling, we must try to be more understanding. We all have to work out our own lives. I'm sorry, am I being pompous?
No, you're very sweet. When you think of the men I couldn't have married, didn't it astonish you that I chose you?
Yes, it did a bit.
It gave me such a sense of power. I'm everything you most disapprove of, and yet you couldn't resist me.
I don't disapprove, Griselda.
Yes, you do. I make you uncomfortable and stir you up in all the wrong way, and yet you adore me.
Yes, I adore you. And what about you? Do you ever regret marrying an old gentleman?
Oh, gentlemen, what do you think? You really don't deserve me. If I had any sense, I'd make you jealous. Lawrence Redding, of course. I should have an affair with him.
Just you try.
Ready now?
Yes, Mary, thank you.
There's enough trouble down at that Mr. Redding's place.
Oh, what?
Women.
What?
Women. My Mr. Archer's mum does for him. Says they're in and out of that cottage all the time. In and out.
Oh, come, Mary. Mr. Redding's an artist. He paints. And things.
Things is right.
Can't you do something with Mary? Can't you train her?
Darling, if I train her, she'll leave us. No one could possibly want her as she is.
Oh, it's you.
Yes, we live here.
Where's Dennis?
Didn't you meet him? He said he was going to play golf with you.
Golf? Oh, I don't think he is.
But he said you'd asked him.
But that was for Friday and today's Monday.
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday? Oh dear, that means I've forgotten lunch with some people for the third time.
My goodness, would you like to telephone?
No, it doesn't matter. Nothing but trouble. If I can wear my bathing suit on the beach, why can't I be painted in it?
What did he say?
I do look rather fetching in it, Mr. Clement, but then there had to be so much chamousel about Lawrence. He is awfully attractive, isn't he?
Who, Lawrence? Yes, I suppose he is.
Father's forbidden for him to paint me. Maddening, isn't it? But he would only know if Lawrence came to the hall. So why can't I sit for him here in your studio?
Not if your father forbids it.
No?
No.
Oh dear, how tiresome everybody is! If only I had some money and I could just go away.
But Lettice, you have got money.
Not enough. I want to go to London, but Father won't let me. You will tell Dennis, won't you?
Good heavens, what are we supposed to tell Dennis?
I haven't the slightest idea. She seems to be heading towards the studio. See Lawrence, I suppose. She's got men on the brain.
I'm beginning to wonder if we were wise to give Redding alone to the studio.
Darling, don't be silly. He needs somewhere to paint, and the lighting in his cottage is awful.
The rice pudding and Miss Marple.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you'd be having lunch at this hour. And in here, too.
Oh, I'm very sorry, but our dining room is piled to the ceiling with our efforts for the fete.
You have quite a good selection, Miss Marple.
Oh, but my real contribution will be in the pronouncement of my own stall. But naturally I have to leave in the ground at the very last moment.
Naturally, won't you sit down?
Yes. Thank you, dear Griselda.
Now, I thought Ma'am Sahib was coping with the garden stall this year.
Oh, we don't always take Mrs. Price Ridley's blustering seriously, now do we, dear?
But I thought as she had a gardener, and such a large garden with all that fruit.
Oh, but I'm interrupting your meal.
Oh no, this rice pudding has no intention of being eaten.
Oh, you poor dear. I had one of my Nellie's lightest soufflés for dinner. You remember, Vicar, she used to make you one occasionally, in the good old days. I've been wondering if I could spare some wallflower savings for my stall this year. I think I could, but it's such a pity it's too early for most cuttings. Although, I must say, that racket over at Mrs. Price really is quite taken away my appetite. I wonder if we can hope to take £50 this year.
Surely you'll at a price higher than that.
Oh, the most we've ever taken was £82, and that was in 1944. We had American flyers stationed here then. Such dear boys, they taught me one or two things about human nature that even I didn't know. I never met such instinctive, uninhibited people before. At the fete, they brought up every single one of my little pen wipes to send back home as souvenirs. But that was before you were here.
Yes, I was on a gun site in 1944, not thinking that fate's apartments existed.
Oh, and the dear vicar was a bachelor, with all of us trying to make things comfortable for him. Oh dear, the war brought many changes.
So long.
Ah, Miss Price Ridley.
Some fuss up at the hall, I hear. Really?
Colonel Prothero has sent Mr. Redding out of the house. He's painting Lettice in her bathing dress.
I always thought there was something between those two. That fellow's always mooching about at the hall. Pity the girl hasn't got a mother. Stepmother, not the same thing. Not the same thing at all. I'm sure that Anne Prothero does her best. Young girls are more trouble than they're worth. 2 a penny in India. Damn glad I only had boys myself, even though they do cost more.
Perhaps we have a romance in our midst. Lettice Prothero is very pretty, and Lawrence Redding, quite a good-looking fellow.
But an artist! Loose, bound to be. Paris and models and nudes. He's painting me, too.
But not in your bathing dress.
It might be worse.
Oh, Griselda.
I do think I'd be quite glad if Lawrence and Lettice got together.
Oh, that particular couple won't, I'm sure. Oh no, quite another person, I think. Lettice didn't say anything when she was in here just now.
You saw her come in then?
Oh, well, I happened to be sniffing off some dead roses in my garden when I saw her come towards the windows.
Wish I overlooked your garden instead of your front door. Miss Marple sees everything worth seeing.
And here's everything too. Or that racket in your garden, for instance.
Got to save my fruit somehow.
Oh, but I had a look at your currants and raspberries yesterday. Full of maggots, not with the picking.
Nonsense!
Oh, why not let the little birds enjoy them, dear Mrs. Price Ridley?
They're a very fine crop and the birds are not going to enjoy them.
Why don't you use that contraption they use at Cromwell Farm?
Yes, why don't you, dear Mrs. Price Ridley?
It's some kind of fuse rope with blank charges that go off at intervals. Cheaper too, I should think.
Can't be cheaper than 3 pence an hour.
But what about our poor nerves?
My God.
Oh dear.
What a fuss over a bit of noise. You should have lived in Karachi. Any case, I'm picking this evening.
Oh, I'm sorry. So sorry. I didn't know anybody was here. I was just
That's
walking
quite
through.
all right, Holmes. Were you wanting me?
Oh, no, Mr. Clement. That is, when was the Colonel coming to see you?
Tomorrow evening at 6:15. Why? Did you want...
No, thank you. I was just delivering these magazines to Miss Smith child. It was nothing at all.
Colonel Prothero is a hard, unfeeling man.
What's the Colonel up to now?
He's threatened to sell all his property in the village.
Oh, that.
You really must have upset yourself, Miss Marple. It's only a rumor. I put it over and over again.
Oh, but this time it isn't, dear Vicar. He told me as much only this morning. He laughed in my face and said I'd better make the best use of my garden whilst I still have it.
But nobody has the right to turn you out these days.
They can if they find me other accommodations.
They'll probably offer you a prefab.
Oh, you can laugh. You own your garden. I'm just a tenant. I planted every tree and shrub in my garden. I built the rookery. I've come to look upon it as my own. No one has the right to take it away from me.
And they won't, Miss Marple.
Well, it seems that Anne Prothero won't be joining us. She'll be heading to the dining room to start pricing articles. I'm getting Jones to make up a dozen boxes of dahlias and a dozen boxes of wallflower plants.
Oh, Mr. Jones is a great one for forcing frames, like all paid gardeners. But your wallflowers are too Lincoln Weekly after transplant.
Nonsense! My wallflowers are not Lincoln. Keep your fingers crossed for me. Mem's heaps determined to get that garden store. Them staying for tea?
I expect so, Mary.
Not enough cakes if that Mrs. Price Ridley stays. So, you know my Mr. Archer?
Yes.
You think you could put in a good word for him with the Colonel?
What's Dick been up to this time?
Oh, nothing. It's just the Colonel's got this knife into him. Says he'll have him in prison in no time. Says he poaches. What a name for earning a living honest the way my Mr. Archer does.
Well, I'll see what I can do, but if Dick does...
He don't know more than's usual. But thanks. It's worth your while. You didn't half enjoy that duck last week, did you now? Oh, blimey! Look who's coming! Miss Prothero herself! Blimey! Talk about glamour! If I could wear clothes like that, I'd be out of here before Big Ben struck two! I'm sorry for coming in this way, Mr. Clement, but it's so much faster than going around to the front door, and I knew I was late.
That's quite all right. My wife's busy pricing at the moment.
That's not my department. I'm only eats and drinks.
Then won't you sit down?
I really only said I'd come because your wife needed support over allocating the stalls.
I imagine that part of the campaign will be fought out over tea.
I've never been in here before. What a very nice room.
It is, isn't it?
You haven't seen my stepdaughter, have you?
Lettice. Oh, she was here about 15 minutes ago.
She really is the most absent-minded child. She invites 5 completely strange young men in for the afternoon, and then disappears.
How is the Colonel?
Still fiendishly bad-tempered with his sciatica.
I'm afraid sciatica would drive a saint bad-tempered.
Underneath it all, my husband's a very nice person.
I'm sure he is.
May I come in? Oh, that was Proffer. Good afternoon. I wanted to get a hold of Mrs. Clement. She is sitting for me, no, sir.
She is busy with preparations for the fete.
I seem to have terrible luck with the models at the moment. They keep disappearing.
I'm sorry about the commotion over Lettice. You must blame the sciatica.
About the famous fate. I was wondering if maybe I could do lighting portrait sketches for you.
Would you, my boy? That would be grand. It's quite an innovation.
Oh, Lawrence, how kind of you. We'll have every spinster in the parish sitting for you.
At 2 bob a time.
At 2 bob a time. Good heavens. Do you hear that, Vicar?
Sounds to me as if the committee is already switching from the price tickets to the stalls.
Then I must go to your assistance as I promised.
I'm glad I haven't got to face that committee.
Hello, Mrs. Pickera.
Hello, Padre.
My sister asked me to bring all this stuff up to make her excuses. She's bottling black currants and some sort of crisis has developed.
Oh dear, I seem to be dropping everything. Let the whole lot go, Doctor.
Thank you. Everyone turns into a beast of burden on these occasions. I almost forgot his own cause about. He's just gone to give some magazines to the Smithson child. I've got some new tablets for his headaches. I can take them. Hawes is not really ill, is he? There's nothing radically wrong with him, but he's had encephalitis lethargica, sleepy sickness to you, and pretty badly before he came here. Yes, he told me, but hasn't he completely recovered? Supposedly, yes. As long as he has no other emotional upsets, he ought to be alright.
But isn't sleepy sickness that disease that can entirely change a person's character, for good or for bad?
That does happen occasionally, but there's nothing wrong with Hawes' character.
Of course not, just left him strung up and nervy.
Disease and glands can play some nasty tricks. You know, I'd rather have my judgment the efficacy here. Now, why do you say that? Because you, Len, deal with right and wrong, and what is any such thing? Good heavens!
Well, what a thing to say to a parson.
But without that, how can you base any creed, any society? What if what you call right and wrong is just a matter of glandular secretion? Too much of one, too little of another. Such a good you're a thief, you're a murderer, you're a habitual criminal. But you don't punish men for glands, for a disease you cannot help. Exactly. You don't hang a man for having tuberculosis.
Or for passing on flu germs.
But wait a minute, a sick man isn't a danger to community. In a sense, he is. He infects people. Never heard you speak like this, John. I don't usually air my theories. What started me off, I suppose, was this disease of Hawes, just close quarters. How it could, I would say it has, change his character. Think of what an innocent victim he would be. Well, fortunately, nothing like that has happened. Oh, it sounds to me as if I need to go restore the peace. I shan't be a moment ready. Well, I must be on my way. Aren't you going to help me, John? Not on your life. I'm off home with the double.
Oh, there you are, Lawrence.
Oh, hello, Lettice.
I've been looking for you.
Oh, why?
I was thinking of going up to the pictures in Yevestead this evening. Like to come?
No thanks, Lettice. I'm afraid I'm busy.
It's a good show. Lots of men would like to take me.
Then I suggest you run along and ask one of them.
It's a real pity.
What is?
About us.
What's about us?
We ought to get together. We've a lot in common, you and I, both knowing what we want in life and ready to go out and get it.
Maybe my child, but I'm afraid I'm not after you.
Well, then all I can say is you've been spending a hell of a lot of time up at the hall. And if it's Annie you're after, you're wasting your
Listen,
time.
Lettice.
That's all right. Lots of men have tried too, but you don't know my dear stepmother as I do. She's no use to anyone except for my father.
You
It's only
little-
because of his money. She's cold in every way. Even I can't make her lose her temper.
What a vicious child you are. How does she put up with you?
Some women will put up with anything for money.
If you're not out of here in 1 second, I'll throw you across my knee and spank you.
You know, I rather might like that.
Outside! Outside!
Fine. But remember, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
Trying old woman, knows everybody's business in the village, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't swear. She's a damn nuisance.
I don't know what's the matter.
Why, dear Mrs. Price Ridley, she just agreed, in fact insisted that I run the garden store per usual. Now, isn't that nice?
Nice. All spinsters
so it should be put away at 50.
I'm so sorry to keep you waiting, Colonel. I've just been called... Prothero. Prothero? Mary! Mary! Come quickly!
Is there anything up, Uncle Len? You sounded...
Dennis, there's been an accident. Get Dr. Haydock. Go.
Gosh!
What do you want, Mary?
Oh, you just called me. I was listening to... Oh,
There's been an accident.
the Colonel, is he dead?
I don't know.
I never heard a thing. Why did he spray me with that when I let him in? Bad tempered as usual, but...
I suppose he was annoyed I was out.
Said he didn't mind waiting, though.
Come, Mary. The doctor will be here any minute.
And you saying just yesterday he ought to be dead.
What's the matter, lad? Dennis caught me in the light and telling there's been an accident.
The Colonel, I think he's dead.
Dead, I'm afraid.
Good heavens.
Been dead about 25 minutes to half an hour, I should say. The blood is beginning to congeal.
Suicide?
Answers the question. Look, shot right to the back of the head.
Yes, and of course there's no gun.
We'd better not touch anything. All phones stuck at the home. He's generally there by now. It'll save us time not having to explain it all to police at Gedminster.
Oh, how the inspector will hate having to come here. Such an atheist.
Hello, Inspector Slack. This is Haydock speaking. Could you come round to the vicarage right away? Yes, it's very important. I think it's murder.
Murder?
Afraid so.
Yes, what else could it be?
Nasty business. Now, who would, well, I know he wasn't very popular.
But people are often murdered for that reason.
People are murdered for the oddest of reasons. When did you find him?
I was late for my appointment with him. It was scheduled for 6:15 and I got here about half an hour later. But when I got here, I met him. I mean, there he was. But there's one rather curious thing.
Yes?
I've been called at once to go to the attics of Lower Farm, but when I got there, they were surprised to see me and denied phoning me at all.
You mean you're being got out of the way?
It looks like it.
And your wife?
She was in London for the day. She often does on Wednesdays.
And Mary would be in the kitchen on the other side of the house.
Yes, doubtless with the radio on.
And... pause.
It's his time for meditation in church. I just don't know.
What about Dennis?
He's just got back from the farm.
Oh yes, he told me. Who knew Prothero was coming here?
A great many people. The appointment was made in the village street yesterday. And you know how the Colonel always shouted. He shouted at the top of his voice. He pretended everyone was as deaf as he was.
The whole village knew, eh? They always do in this sort of case. Prothero, eh? I suppose it was a personal thing, not just some thieves after money.
No, I don't think he ever carried much money on him, nor would there be much here.
Mr. Clement? Can I please borrow your notes on the 5th chapter of Revelation?
Pause. Where have you been the last half hour?
Why in the church?
Did anyone see you? Anyone at all?
Well, the verger, Mr. Marshall, was there, and... blood. Blood! Look at the blood! What happened? Why doesn't somebody do something? What's going on? Is he dead? Is he...
I'm afraid so.
Okay, so there is righteousness in this world after all, and justice shall be done. Oh God, the Colonel!
Control yourself, my boy. You know it's bad if you get excited.
Well, ye shall reap your years sown, saith the Lord.
Come and lie down. Come on. Uncle Len?
Dennis, what are you doing here?
May I come in, just for a minute?
You may not. You will stay outside and don't let anybody in.
Hall's got a screw loose, hasn't he?
Go on.
I sent Hawes up to his room. Bad thing is coming in like that.
Naturally, a bit of a shock.
Detective Inspector Slack.
Oh, hello, Inspector.
Murder at the Vicarage, eh? You're lucky you caught me. I only just got home. Been in court all day. The Colonel, huh? Well, I'm damned.
Yes.
What was he doing here?
I was late for my appointment with him.
What were you meeting him for?
Certain parochial matters.
Everything's been tossed and pulled about, I imagine.
I've touched nothing. Neither have I.
Is there any sign of a weapon?
No. Seems as though it might have been a premeditated crime.
What makes you say that?
The vicar had a bogus telephone pole to get him out of the way.
Yes, it was about 5:30 when I got a call to go at once to the Abbot's. But when I got there was a place to see me.
Was a man's or a woman's voice on the phone?
It sounded like a woman's voice, Mrs. Abbott's. But it could have been a high-pitched man's voice.
I see. Do you have any idea what type of gun was used?
Can't say for certain until we extract the bullet. But I should say it's fired from a revolver, of a small caliber, say a Mauser.
And how long had he been dead when you examined him, Doctor?
I put you at just over half an hour.
Now, what would he have been sitting here? Hello, what's this? Mr. Clement, I simply cannot wait any longer. And then it ends. It's headed at 6:20. How long did you say again, Doctor?
Just over half an hour.
It's just after 7 now. You phoned me 5-6 minutes ago, say 5 to 7. Discovery of the body at 1:45. I imagine you were fetched immediately.
Yes.
Say that you examined body at 10 to. Why? That puts it down to the identical second. It's plain as pike stuff. He sits down here and writes this, and then the murderer comes in softly behind and shoots him as he writes.
May I come in, gentlemen?
Miss Marple.
What, may I ask, ma'am, are you doing here?
Oh, well, I brought the dear vicar raspberry flan. It's so hot, I only picked the raspberries this morning.
Ma'am, I must ask you.
Oh, poor Colonel Prothero. Not a very pleasant man, and certainly not well liked, but to meet a violent end. Oh, and here in the vicarage, too. Oh, you poor dear vicar.
How do you know he met a violent end?
Not quite so loud, please. I happened to overhear you as I came in.
This is disgraceful. I'll have this place sealed off at once. Now, where have you been for the last hour?
Why, I've been watering my lawn. You can ask my dear Nellie. We've had so little rain as of late, haven't we, Doctor?
I haven't noticed this, Marple. I'm no gardener. Well, death may be important. Birth is more important. Mrs. Goodwin's twins. Any moment now. Give me a ring if I can help you.
Hello, Yen Minster. Give me the station sergeant. Thompson? Slack here. Get me a couple of men and a photographer down to the St. Mary Mead Vicarage as soon as you can. Now, Miss Marple, whilst you were watering your garden, did you happen to see anyone enter or leave the vicarage around
Inspector,
6:20?
do you think it's right to question Miss Marple in the
Oh,
circumstances?
it's quite all right, Inspector. I find it is the fairer sex who's able to stand up better in a line of questioning, although we're far more likely to faint once it's all over. Pray proceed, Inspector.
Thank you. Now, as I was saying...
Now, Inspector, I haven't overheard you say...
What do you think you're doing?
I thought I'd better tell the vicar that the Sunday school teachers are hanging about in the hall.
Oh yes, I've forgotten. Please tell them that I can't meet with them tonight, and I'm very sorry.
Now, Inspector...
Your name's Mary Jenkins, isn't it?
Blimey, you ought to know me by now, of course.
You're the one who let the kennel in here, right?
Yes.
On your way back to the kitchen, did you happen to hear anything?
Nothing. What's more, I didn't want to hear nothing. I was waiting for Toronto at 1:15.
And yet, there was the shot fired that killed the colonel.
Didn't hear no shot. If there had been a shot, I'd have heard it.
Well, of course...
Oh, I know. There must have been a shot as the colonel's been found shot. There it is. I didn't hear one.
What time did the colonel arrive?
6 o'clock.
How do you know? Did you look at a clock?
No, I heard the church clock chimes as I opened the door to him. Said he was early for his date with the Reverend, but he'd wait.
And you heard nothing?
Do you have to keep asking me the same question? I heard nothing. Hello, darling. My goodness, what a day. I've bought everything in sight. Hello. What's the matter?
There's been a tragedy.
What's happened?
You must be very tired. Now come and sit down. Don't worry.
Now, Inspector,
Mrs.
would you...
Clement, you've been to London, have you not?
Why, yes.
And came back on the 5-5?
Why, yes, of course.
That's all right. If you wouldn't mind leaving us. You too. I'll call if I need you.
Good evening.
What do you want, Mr. Redding?
Inspector Slack. On the job already, eh? Hands to the law, what?
Where have you been for the last hour, Mr.
Oh, I don't
Redding?
think that necessary.
Well, I do think it necessary. So if you'll kindly tell me.
Me? Tell you where I've been for the past hour? But really?
If you please, Mr. Redding.
All right, if you insist. Well, from about 6 to 6:20, I was talking to the Hendersons. They're considering buying one of my oils, jolly nice of them.
Yes, and then?
Then I walked back along past the village, across the lawn and out there to the studio.
You didn't come near these windows?
No.
Are you sure?
Why?
Oh, that's quite right, Inspector. I saw him.
Yes. And what time did you leave the studio?
Somewhere between 6:30 and 20 to 7, I'd say. Then I walked back along the path to the village, right past Miss Marple's garden.
Did anyone see you when you were walking back?
No?
And you didn't come in through these windows when you left the studio?
No, I went straight to the village.
Are you quite sure?
Ask Miss
Well,
Marple.
that's quite right, but Inspector, really, I need to...
Miss Marple sees everything.
Yes. And later?
Later?
Yes, later.
Surely you know the answer to that one.
If I did, I wouldn't be asking you.
So you haven't told him?
Hasn't told me what?
So he hasn't? Dear, how stupid of me. Then my only witness was the vicar. But as for the vicar,
Where did you get that gun?
it's mine. Now's a 32mm. So the vicar didn't tell you that he caught me on the front doorstep just as he was coming in. About 6:45, wasn't it?
Did you see him, Mr. Clement?
Well, yes, of course.
Give me that gun. Don't take that tone with me. This gun is loaded. Except for the one bullet that's missing. That's right, dear Griselda. I killed him. He got what he deserved and I don't regret it. I wouldn't have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for your husband on the doorstep. Damn bad luck, isn't it?
Mr. Redding, I must warn you that everything you say will be taken down and may be used against you as evidence at your trial.
Really, Inspector? You sound like a detective thriller. My, you all look terribly scared. You needn't, though. One murder is quite enough for the present.
Hello, Matisse. What are you doing here?
I just went out for a walk.
I shouldn't have thought that you would want to come here.
Why not? Because of father? Why should it bother me? I didn't like him much. It is odd though.
What is?
I never thought anyone would murder him. Lots of people wanted to, I'm sure. I did myself, quite often.
Matisse.
Hello there, Dennis! Neglecting the Piggly Wigglies and Moo Moo cows this morning.
I can hardly.
Poor Mr. Clement. What a nasty surprise it must have been to find father like that, of course. I didn't know for ages.
Weren't you told at once?
No, I was out. I'm not sure what time I got home. Infuriating, isn't it, when you make a date and someone doesn't keep it?
Yes, most annoying.
That's the real reason why I went to the pictures in Yamasta yesterday by myself to recover my temper.
I see.
Taking the afternoon off too, Dennis?
Yes, no.
I saw the inspector just now. He asked where I'd been yesterday evening, if I'd had a date with anyone.
I'm afraid in a case like this, they want to know the whereabouts of everybody.
Well, I just came drifting in here to see if I could find my beret. It's a queer little red one. I think I might have left it here the other
I
day.
haven't seen it. Have you, Dennis?
No.
Well, if it were here, I'm sure the inspector would have found it.
The inspector?
Oh, yes, he collected all sorts of things.
What a bore!
But what use is of a red beret at the moment?
You mean mourning and all? I shan't bother. I think it's an awfully old-fashioned idea. I suppose this is all on account of me and my swimsuit. If only poor silly father had known before he'd made such a shamoozle. I suppose they'll hang Lawrence.
My goodness. Fancy her coming into here. To this very room. She's got nerve, hasn't she? I always remember her killing that weasel. Don't get many girls doing that. She doesn't seem the least bit upset about her father, does she?
No, a strange child. Hello. Oh, hello, Mrs. Price Ridley. No, he isn't here. Why? Did you call the police station? You have. Well, I shouldn't bother. Whatever is the trouble? I'm so very sorry. Good afternoon. Dear, oh dear.
Uncle Ed, I've just found 2 footprints in the rose bed. Small ones too, not big enough to be Lawrence's. Do you think the inspector would like to know?
I think perhaps he would.
Wizard luck, isn't it? A murder in one's very own study. Old Prothero too. Everyone thought was a stinker.
Dennis.
Well, have you heard anyone say they're sorry he's dead?
Can't see why Lawrence, of all people, should do a thing like that. What reason did he have?
He did have sort of a motive.
What, Lettice? If it comes to that, nearly everyone here has a motive. Anne Prothero took the old boy's money, Miss Marble to keep her home, and that Mary's Mr. Arch to keep out of prison.
And Uncle Len, to get rid of the tiresome church warden.
And what about your precious Lettice? She wants more money and more freedom than she's already allowed.
I think that's a bit unfair.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make a crack. The whole thing's beyond me. You know, I think I've got a bit of a headache.
It's hardly to be wondered at.
Gosh, what a night. Police all around, cars coming
Oh,
off.
Dennis, please.
Sorry, Griselle. Should I get you a cup of tea or something?
I'd love that. Could you get a red Mary too, please?
Yes. She's money for a gem where I'm concerned.
I don't doubt it.
Mary!
The whole thing's still beyond me.
It's the suddenness of it.
It's strange. The Colonel comes in here as he has time again, all ruffled and bothered. Except this time.
Except this time he doesn't leave me ruffled and bothered.
No, he's dead. It's just an ordinary Thursday morning. Ordinary except that Lawrence is caught in a trap and he must die too.
Darling, I was thinking about going over to the farm today to fetch some eggs. Would you like to come?
You think a walk to the farm will cure everything.
The good earth can cure most things.
You should have been a farmer.
Maybe. But today I must focus mainly on the parish. I've gotten a call from almost every spinster in the parish. Most of them in a state of collapse. We can call 1 or 2 on the way back, shall we?
May I come in?
Oh, hello, Miss Marple. I do hope yesterday evening wasn't too big of a shock for you.
Oh, people of my generation are well equipped to deal with such happenings. Calories, you know.
It's the doctor.
Good morning. Forgive me, but I wanted to see the inspector, and when I phoned the police station, they told me he was on his way over here.
Oh, the inspector coming here? How lovely.
Oh, Ronnie, Mary said you had no breakfast.
Well, I had a cup of coffee. I'm sure I did.
Now, you seem worried, Mr. Horse. I wonder why. The mystery's been cleared up. The murderer's under arrest.
What do you mean?
Oh, nothing. Just that we can all sleep quietly in our beds now. Although I must say you didn't sleep very well last night at all.
Didn't you, Ronnie? I'm so sorry.
His light was on practically all night. Very bad in one so young. Very bad.
Oh, I don't know, Miss Marple. I used to read through many a night.
Well, I was tormented by the thought of the Colonel for a sinner such as he to be taken like that, leaving no last wish. That notice, Mr. Clement, said nothing of interest?
Nothing, my boy. Just hear that he was annoyed I was out.
You know, I find that very odd.
Odd? Odd? Of course it's odd. Well, I'm sorry. So sorry. Please forgive me.
I'm afraid he's a pretty sick man.
Youth is so sensitive and so secretive.
Only when they're being spied upon.
I'm so very sorry. I'm afraid this business has gotten to her.
Well, I understand. This whole affair has bothered me, in fact, unnerved me quite a little.
How so?
I'm glad the inspector's coming here. There's 1 or 2 things I must tell him, but I wonder why.
I suppose to check up on the details.
I suppose so. You know, in a way, I'm surprised that Lawrence Redding confessing to the murder.
Why?
Oh, I'm not surprised that he did it, but that he confessed. I would have thought he would have had a run for all his money.
Well, the fact that he bumped into me on my doorstep made it impossible for him to get away with it.
Well, if he hadn't confessed, Miss Marple, I suppose we'd all have been suspect, eh?
Well, not all. But, as you know, Human nature is one of my most favorite hobbies.
In this town you have ample scope for study.
Exactly. Human nature is a fascinating subject. One takes a problem no matter how small, like the gilded pickled shrimps which amused Griselda so much, or the butcher's umbrella, meaningless as it was, until one works with the assumption that the grocer was misbehaving with the chemist's wife.
Which unfortunately turned out to be true.
Well, it's gratifying to find one's right.
You usually are, I believe.
Oh, I don't know about that. But it would have been exciting when a real murder came along to save it in the same way.
I'm sorry, Miss Marple, but this is murder.
Well, after all, stolen runs Russia on the same principle as an anthill.
Yes, but Lawrence has confessed, and there's nothing you can do about it. Otherwise, you'd probably start by assuming Len has about the church gardens.
Oh no, my dear, I'd start by assuming something quite different.
The brains trust.
Morning, all. Here, you!
Who, me?
Now, are you certain you didn't hear the shot last evening?
The shot what killed him? Of course I didn't. If I'd have done, I'd have come down here and seen who'd done it.
There wasn't another shot, I suppose.
Another shot?
Any shot at all.
Come to think of it, yes there was. Not a lot of shots, mind you, just one up there in the woods. Then
What?
again, they're always banging away up there.
What time was this?
What a one you are for time.
Come on, what time?
Couldn't say for sure. Well, after tea time, I do know that.
Come on, my dear girl, can't you get a bit nearer than that?
Dear girl! Saucy, ain't he? No, I can't. Besides, I've got my things to do, and with one thing and another, I never rightly know what time it is.
Well, was the shot after the colonel arrived?
Professor showed it were. It'd be about 20 minutes to half an hour after I let him in, because Geraldo were playing. Now, is that all? Because I got a nice little pheasant in the oven.
That's all right. You can go.
The wind's all wrong for the stove today.
Pheasant. I didn't know we were having a pheasant, did you?
Now, Mary's quite right, Inspector. I did hear a shot sometime after 6:30, but it didn't sound so near.
Well, a shot was fired in here, so someone must have heard it.
Inspector, I...
Have you got the bullet for me yet, Doctor?
Yes, I do. Here it is.
.32, eh?
Yes, fired from a Mauser, all right. I'll keep the technical details for the inquest. All you want to know, I suppose, is that death was instantaneous. Damn fool. What do you want to do it for?
Now, Inspector, really?
Yes, Miss Marple.
Now, Inspector,
Ah,
put together...
there you are at last!
I've gotten a message you've been trying to contact me.
I insist that some notice is taken of the occurrence. Disgraceful, I call it, simply disgraceful. Why in India, even the native police were better than you.
Won't you sit down, Mrs. Price-Ridley?
Yes, murder is disgraceful. Have you an idea about it? The motive?
Motive? That's your business. What do we pay rates and taxes for?
We are doing our best, Miss
The
Price-Ridley.
man over at the police station hadn't heard of it until I told him.
What?
A bit of a misunderstanding. Mrs. Price-Ridley got an anonymous telephone call.
Oh, I see. We've been talking at cross purposes.
Cross purposes indeed. Such disgraceful occurrences ought to be prevented. To be insulted on one's own telephone. Yes, insulted. Ever since the war, there's been a loosening of a moral fiber. Nobody minds throwing away an empire, and as to the clothes people
Oh,
wear.
but change in fashion never worries you, dear Mrs. Price,
If
really.
this suit was good enough for Karachi,
What occurred exactly, Miss Ridley?
the name is Price Ridley, and I was rung up.
When?
Yesterday evening, about 6:25. I was immediately foully attacked, threatened.
What was actually said?
I decline to say.
Bad language.
Oh, so obscene language was used.
Definitely.
Could you understand it?
Of course I could. The person became very abusive.
Abusive? Was it a man's voice or a woman's voice in the phone?
It was a degenerate's voice.
Mrs. Price Ridley, what was said? I cannot help you if you
You're a
don't...
wicked, scandal-mongering old woman, but this time you've gone too far. Scotland Yard is after you for libel.
Naturally, you were alarmed.
If you don't hold your tongue in future, it will be the worse for you, in more ways than one. So I roared back, "Who the devil are you?" And the voice answered, "Muhammad the Avenger." And then it laughed. Laughed! I felt so angry that my nerves were all on edge, so much so that when I heard a shot, I declared to right out of my chest.
Where?
Well, in my drawing room, of course.
No,
I
a shot you-
sounded just like a bomb, and Clara had to bring me a good stiff whiskey.
No, no. Where was the shot?
Shot. Oh, it was in the woods, of course.
Thank you. What time was this?
I should say about 6:30.
All right, we'll investigate the incident.
Incident?
Don't worry, Mrs. Pice-Ridley. The inspector will look into it for you.
Very strange things have been happening here lately. Colonel Prothero is going to look into them, and look what happened to him. I shall probably be the next.
Oof. All that boils down to is she had a shot just before 6:30.
It also got her away from her front window, so she couldn't see the vicar's lawn at the time of the murder.
Yes? Yes, that's right, quite right. Now, Mr. Clement, there's a couple things I don't understand about this case. I want to question Mr. Redding again. Now, with your permission, sir, I've brought Mr. Redding over. We want to ask him some questions here on the spot, but not satisfied with his statement. He is quite willing to help us. Jennings, bring Mr. Redding in.
You mean in here?
If you don't mind, ma'am.
I suppose you have your duty to do.
Thank you, ma'am. I shan't need you, or Mrs. Clement.
Of course, Inspector, you know best, but have you anyone else who can testify to Mr. Redding's statements as to his whereabouts from 6 or 7 yesterday evening?
I had forgotten for a moment, Miss Marple, that you were watering your lawn. Perhaps you would be so good as to remain.
Oh, certainly, Inspector, certainly. And we'll be too glad to be able to help.
Thank you very much.
Oh, not at all.
Lawrence,
If you don't mind, ma'am.
I'm so sorry.
Now, Mr. Redding,
This is the French way, isn't it? Reconstruction of the crime scene on the spot? Go ahead.
you say you quarreled with Colonel Prothero, lost your temper, and shot him.
Yes?
Where was he when you came into the room?
Sitting at his desk.
Did he get up when you came in?
Yes?
When he was found shot, he was in a seated position.
Well, he sat back down again when he realized who it was.
Oh, perhaps you'd like to tell me exactly what occurred.
I'll try. So I came in through these doors here, and the colonel, after getting up and sitting back down...
Getting up and sitting down, eh? Whereabouts were you?
Well, I was here. Then the colonel started to argue with me.
Argue? What about?
He was annoyed with lots of things, but mainly the fact that I was painting his daughter's portrait in her bathing suit.
Very well, you argued, and then?
And then he became very insulting suddenly, and I lost control. I shot him.
You were arguing with him, then suddenly you moved around behind him and shot him through the back of the head.
No. Yes. No.
And the silencer, where's the silencer?
Silencer?
Yes, no shot was heard. You must have used the silencer.
No, I didn't use one.
The barrel was grooved to take a silencer.
I brought the gun back from Germany with me. They were all grooved for silencers. God, what does it matter? I didn't use one.
All right. I'll take your word for it. But the story, Mr. Redding, of a quarrel just doesn't ring true. I suggest there was no time for a quarrel, that you slipped in through the front door and shot him a few minutes before the vicar arrived home.
What do you mean a few minutes? That's quite impossible. The colonel had been dead much longer than that.
But you said the estimate was only approximate.
25 minutes, half an hour, but no less. Why, the body would have been warm when I got to it.
What if Redding says he shot Proper at 6:45?
Then Redding lies. 6:30 was the latest he could have been shot. Why, the blood had begun to congeal.
I came to see you
Anne,
Mrs.
Mrs. Putnam.
I telephoned the station inspector and they told me you were here. I need to tell you.
If it has anything to do with the murder...
No, you must
perhaps
listen to me. I need to tell you that I killed my husband.
It's a lie.
It's quite true.
Don't believe her. She's mad.
I'm sorry for saying it so bluntly, but I've hated him for a long time. I know you all had your reasons for disliking him, but none of you knew him as I did. He was evil. He made my life a hell, so I killed him.
She's crazy. Don't believe her. She's stark raving mad.
Suppose you'll arrest me now.
Mrs. Prothero, Lawrence Redding has already confessed to the murder of your husband.
Yes, and I know why.
Please, Anne, don't.
Why should Redding confess if he didn't do it?
Please, Anne.
Because he's in love with me.
Just so.
I suppose he felt in a way responsible. It was very brave of him, but very foolish.
How did he know you did it? Did you tell him?
Yes, I
It's a lie. She never told me.
Can't you see he's still trying to protect me?
Mr. Redding, if you please, leave this to me.
Now that I've confessed, won't you please take me away from here?
Where did you get the revolver?
The revolver? I'd taken it from Lawrence's cottage
When did you take it?
about a week ago.
And brought it with you to the vicarage?
Yes,
Him.
I knew of my husband's appointment with the vicar.
What time did you come here?
Sometime after 6, 20 past, something like that.
You deliberately took the revolver from Lawrence Redding's cottage with the intention of murdering your husband?
No,
Well, Mrs. Prothero?
well, originally, I meant it for myself.
You know that I cannot believe that.
You can't believe that the calm, detached Mrs. Prothero, always in command of the situation, always saying the right thing, could possibly be made of flesh and blood after all? But isn't this enough?
It's embarrassing having to tell you all these things. You couldn't help but care for each other.
You say you took the revolver meaning it for yourself, but then brought it with you to the vicarage.
Inspector, this is ridiculous. She says she took my revolver a week ago, but that isn't true. I had it 2 or 3 days ago. Ask anyone. Ask Miss Archer.
Will you please be quiet? Mrs. Prothero, you say that with the intention of murdering your husband, you took the revolver from Lawrence Wing's cottage and brought it with you here to the vicarage.
Yes. My husband had told me that there was nothing that would make him give me a divorce. And I knew he wouldn't change his mind. There was a scene. He was vindictive. I got very angry. Yesterday evening I was walking up the lane and into the garden. I looked into the French windows. I saw my husband.
He didn't see you?
No.
Well,
Then I shot him.
I see. And then?
Then I went away.
And told Mr. Redding what you had done.
Yes.
Did anyone see you enter or leave the vicarage garden?
No.
Him?
Oh, Miss Marple, of course. I talked to her for a few minutes afterwards. She was watering her lawn.
Now may I be allowed?
Mrs. Prothero, you say after you saw Miss Marple, you passed outside these windows, looked in, saw your husband, and shot him with the revolver you carried.
Yes.
Well, that couldn't be so, my dear. You didn't have a revolver when you spoke to me. You weren't carrying a bag or anything, and that dress you were wearing, curiously enough, the same one you're wearing now, is quite close-fitting, if you'll forgive my saying so. Quite impossible to conceal anything.
Of course I had the revolver.
My dear, you really should not tell such untruths.
Are you going to pay her any mind? What does she know about it anyway?
I know exactly what we're doing from 6 till after past.
Oh?
I was in my garden.
I need to sit down.
Dr. Haydock, you stay away from her. Keep over there. Now, Miss Marple.
From 5 o'clock onwards, I was in my garden, and from there, one cannot help but notice everything.
You saw Mrs. Prothero?
Oh, yes.
Why didn't you tell me so before?
I've been trying to tell you for some time, dear Inspector, but you gentlemen are so dominating, it's impossible to get word in edgewise.
All right, go on.
Mrs. Prothero came to my hedge and spoke to me. She admired my roses, particularly my little china one beside the sundial.
What time was this?
About 1:15. She said she was on her way to the vicarage to meet with her husband so that they could walk home together. When she left me, she went into the vicarage garden by the back gate.
And at that moment you heard no shot.
No, not a sound of any kind.
But Inspector, that was when I shot him.
Will you both please be quiet? Mrs. Prothero went into the studio.
Yes. Then Mr. Redding came along the lane from the village, and when he reached the back gate, he stopped and looked all around.
And how was it he didn't see you, Miss Marple?
Oh, well, just that moment I was bending over. Green fly in my china rose. Most worrying.
Yes, of course. And then?
And then he went down to the studio. He didn't come near these windows at all.
Are you sure he didn't come near these windows?
No, he went straight down to the studio. Mrs. Prothero came to the door to meet him and they went inside. And it was at that point that I heard the shot, which did sound as though it came from the woods.
Just a minute, though. So you're telling me the time the only shot was heard, Lawrence Redding and Mrs. Prothero were both inside the studio?
I've been trying to tell you for some time.
And I suppose there's only one door to the studio?
Yes, and the window doesn't open, nor does the skylight.
How long did they stay inside the studio?
About a quarter of an hour, then they walked back to the village together.
I don't suppose you haven't noticed the expression on their faces?
Oh, yes, I did. They looked quite happy.
Not disturbed in any way?
Oh, no. Quite the opposite.
Are you really going to listen to this gossipy old maid who sees everything from miles from her blasted gun? I tell you I killed my husband.
Mrs. Prothero, you are lying. When your husband was found shot, he was seated at the desk. The desk is now visible from the window, yet you did not enter the room.
No, but...
You say you were carrying a gun, but you weren't.
Well,
I suggest you were trying to cover for this young man, which I think quite unnecessary. Lawrence Redding allegedly saw your husband at 6:45. Dr. Haydock informs you that is quite impossible. It would seem as if he is trying to shield you.
If only knew the hell I've been through. I'd rather die than have anything happen to him. Oh, darling.
I'm sorry, but what else was I supposed to do? Inspector, don't you think Miss Prothero could go now?
Yes. I didn't say you could go, Mr. Redding. Now, there's no need for further heroics. Perhaps you'll tell me what really occurred, and why you came to the vicarage at approximately 6:55.
All right, Inspector. There's no need to cover up anymore. I met Anne in the studio because I decided to tell her I wanted to go away. It didn't seem fair to her to stay. The Colonel, he wouldn't divorce her. So we said goodbye. Then we walked down the village to the lane to the village together, and when we parted, I wanted to see someone who'd understand. So I came by the front door here to see the vicar. When I came in, though, I saw the colonel sitting at his desk. I went up to him, touched him. He was dead. I saw a revolver lying on the floor. I picked it up and it was mine.
And you thought Mrs. Puzzle had done it?
Of course, she's always had such amazing self-control, but when we fell in love, she started doing wild, impetuous things. You see, Inspector, I don't think she's ever truly been in love before. I know I must have been crazy. I just picked up the revolver, put it in my pocket, went out down the hall trying to avoid Miss Marple, but I caught the vicar on the doorstep. I remember making some excuse.
Who else do you own a revolver?
Oh, crowds of people.
When did you last see it?
2-3 days ago.
Why do you keep it?
Oh, on a bookshelf with other odds and ends of mine.
You mean you leave it lying about carelessly?
I guess so. I'd never really thought much of it. It was just there.
Do you at least lock up your cottage when you're out?
Good heavens, no. I'm nothing worth stealing.
Then it comes down to this. Almost anyone could have taken the revolver.
I suppose so, Inspector.
And I don't suppose when you came in here, you noticed a note laying on the blotter, half concealed by the body?
No, I don't think so.
Well, nevertheless, there was one. And someone added the time 6:20 to the note after the colonel arrived.
Added?
We've established the fact that 6:20 was added later.
But 6:20 was the time when Anne was passing by the windows. Oh, God, someone must have seen her when she passed. Someone who hated her.
Someone who was trying to pin the murder onto her.
Redding, I think you should go see Mrs. Prothero. She's asking for you.
Thanks. May I, Inspector?
I suppose so. There's no much point holding you any longer. Just don't leave the village.
Right, I won't, thanks.
Jennings, wait for me in the car.
Gentlemen, I'm worried.
Worried?
You're worried.
Well, yes. This is dangerous, gentlemen. For the way that I see it, this cold-blooded murderer is the kind who may strike again and again.
Darling, I got your message. What is it? Is it Hawes?
Oh no, he's all right. He often drops off these days.
But he looks terrible.
No, it's much worse.
Worse, did you learn something?
Learn something.
About the murder?
Oh no, it's worse than that.
Sit down. Calm down. Now what is it?
What do you think?
What?
Well, it's Mary.
Mary?
Yeah,
She's what?
she's leaving.
Oh, is that all? I thought at least you'd murdered the colonel.
Oh, Len, you just don't care.
Mary, after all, is rather slapdash.
We'll never find anyone to replace her, and I shall have to do the cooking. You just don't know what that means.
I'm afraid I do, but whoever's enticed her from us is going to be rather disappointed.
That's the problem. No one wants her. It's her feelings.
Her feelings?
Yes, she's upset because Letitia's Prothero said she doesn't dust well.
Well, she doesn't, but what's that to do with Letitia's Prothero?
Nothing. That's what's so tragic.
Darling, do you want me to speak to Mary?
Oh, Len, you and only you could make her stay.
All right, I'll see to her.
All right, well, now's your chance because I must head down to the village. I'll send her straight in.
Now?
Yes, now.
What now? Hello. Yes, speaking. Oh, hello, Sergeant. No news of an arrest yet, I suppose? No. Well, good afternoon. Oh, are you feeling better, Hawes?
Yes, Mr. Clement, but I just need to get some air to clear my head.
Oh, hello, Mary.
Hello.
My wife tells me that you wish to leave us.
That's right.
Well,
There's just some things because no girl should be asked to put up with.
will you be more explicit, Mary?
What?
Tell me, what's wrong?
Tell you that in 2 words I can. People come snooping round here when my back's turned, poking about. And is it her business how often the study's dusted? Long as you and the missus don't complain. That's enough for me, I say.
Of course, but...
Me run off me feet, reporters back and front, and me neglecting me radio. And the questions you get asked. I never been in a place where they had a murder before, not even in the factories. And before he so much as decently buried, that daughter of his comes round here and says I don't dust properly. Blasphemous, that's what it is.
Lettice Potter is here.
I'm telling you, found her in here when I got back from taking me, Mr. Archer's mom, a few tidbits.
What did she want?
Looking for my little red beret. I ain't seen no beret, I tells her.
Oh, says she, I dare say you wouldn't see it. You don't spend too much time doing a room, do you?
Then she draws her finger along the mantelpiece and looks at it, as if I had time in my day to take down all those ornaments, with the police only unlocking the room last night, then locking her up again on account of everyone who confessed to having done the murder and not having done it.
Naturally, you haven't had much time.
So I says to her, dignified, if the vicar and the missus are satisfied, that's all that matters.
Of course.
And she says,
Oh, but are you sure they are?
are you sure they are? Girl has her feelings. I bust my fingers to the bone for the missus. And if she wants any newfangled dishes tried, I'm ready to risk them.
I'm sure you are, Mary. Well then...
But she must have heard something from someone, and if I don't give satisfaction...
Don't you think you're taking offense unnecessarily? You know your mistress would be terribly sorry to lose you.
Oh, I got nothing against the missus, nor against you, sir.
Oh, thank you. Then don't you think you're being rather hasty?
Well, I was a bit upset, like, after all that questioning, and missing George Maleshrino and his strings.
Then I can say it's all right. You'll stay, Mary.
Well,
Please, Mary.
I don't like upsetting the missus. She's so sort of helpless, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I do know what you mean. Then we'll take this as settled.
You're very persuasive, sir. You really are. Masterful, I tells my Mr. Archer.
Him?
Oh, just a temporary domestic crisis.
Oh, I understand. But Vicar, what a lovely afternoon. I brought your wife some raspberries.
Thank
Large
you.
and free from maggots.
You're very kind.
Oh, not at all.
Won't you sit down?
Oh, yes, thank you. How is dear Griselda? This whole affair happens in her house, and never once has she turned her hair.
Griselda never lets her mind dwell on the unpleasant. Now that Anne and Lois have confessed, she's moved on.
Quite right. You know, it's a letter the Colonel wrote that worries me.
Oh.
Well, if Mrs. Prothero came to the window and looked in and thought the Colonel wasn't there, which she must have, otherwise she never would have risked going out to the studio with Mr. Redding, why then the Colonel must have already been seated at the desk.
Of course. Yes.
So why then, after he said he'd wait for you, would you be writing to say he couldn't wait any longer?
Unless he changed his mind.
Or unless there was another letter together he was writing.
The question, Master.
Afternoon, Vicar. Oh, afternoon, Miss Marple.
Afternoon, dear Inspector. Any news?
News? What do you mean,
Oh, poor dear Inspector. It's getting on your nerves. That much is obvious.
Is your wife about, Mr. Clement?
I'm afraid not. She's just left, but she'll be back quite soon. Do sit down.
Thank you. May I come in?
Yes, do. We haven't seen anything of you this last day or two.
Oh, Mr. Redding's been taking long walks in the woods. He met me the other day near Jessup's copse.
And Miss Marple was teaching me the most amazing things about fungi. Oh, Inspector Slark. Still at sea. It is such a beautifully thought out crime, though. No clues, nothing.
Not for long. All murderers make a slip up sooner or later.
I still can't get over the fact that the murderer was actually in my house. Maybe even shared a drink with me.
Not necessarily. I expect the entire village knew that you had that revolver.
Well, why should they?
Village folk know everything. They can most probably tell you what kind of shaving cream you use.
Who tells them these things?
Goodness knows.
Old Mrs. Archer does for you, for one. You know, you never should have left that revolver lying about.
Oh, come now, Miss Marple. How was I supposed to know if someone was going to borrow it and bump off the old boy?
Well, I still think it careless of you. And the least you can do is help the dear Inspector find out who did borrow it. Poor dear Inspector, is it really true they're sending down a superintendent from Scotland Yard tomorrow to take over the case?
Just where do you get your information from, ma'am?
I have my spies. So it is true! Oh, you poor dear Inspector. They're rushing you. They don't give you enough time.
That's right! Given time!
Oh, that's all right, Inspector. We still have today.
But this is murder. The sooner something is done about it, the better.
And I think that's a bit unfair. Anyone with any motive at all has proved they were nowhere near the vicarage at the time of the murder. And you go and ruin any shred of fingerprint evidence by picking up the gun. Why, yes, I think it's a bit unfair.
I'm sorry, it's just that I'm perhaps the most anxious person to get this cleared up. I can feel the tension in the air wherever I appear.
Surely not.
Oh yes, Padre, until the real murderer is found, everyone will think it was me.
The doctor's evidence made it quite clear.
Who cares about evidence, especially medical evidence? We need to question people over and over, third degree if necessary, and if the murderer does live around here, he'll have to have a pretty strong nerve to stand the strain.
Oh, good afternoon, Mr. Hawes.
Oh, Inspector, Marshal the Verger tells me you've been questioning him.
That's right. I actually wanted to check your statement if you didn't leave the church before 7 o'clock on the evening of the murder.
But does Marshal say I did?
No. But he did mention he went up to the church tower at 6:15 to check where the bell ropes had been mended.
But then when I looked at 7 o'clock, he's lying if he said he didn't see me.
Oh no, he saw you all right. But he was in that church tower for 10 minutes.
Well, what do you mean? What are you trying to infer?
Calm yourself, Hawes. The inspector's just doing his duty.
His duty is to try to find the murderer, not try and trick innocent people.
Oh, come now, Ronnie, don't get excited. If the inspector's trying to say that you popped out of the church, came across here, shot the colonel, and popped back, well, that's just ridiculous, because Miss Marple would have seen you. Right, Miss Marple?
Okay, yes. Yes, his duty, I see that. But who could have done such a dreadful thing? Well, one would need to have such a strong motive.
That's what we're trying to find.
Okay, well, the colonel had enemies. He had a reputation for being so severe.
He had, perhaps.
But don't you remember, Mr. Clement? That same day he was murdered, he was telling you about being threatened by that man Archer.
Now that I think of it, so he did.
You never told me about these threats.
I never gave him a thought.
Could Colonel Proctor have had anything to note of, Mr. Clement?
The colonel knew Archer was a poacher.
We all know that, I'm afraid.
Maybe the colonel caught him red-handed, and that's why he was going to see you.
But poaching is of no concern of mine.
And it seems that if that were the case, someone would have said something, or perhaps written about it.
Oh, perhaps he was going to.
What do you mean?
Perhaps the colonel was going to write, and Archer knew about it.
You mean he was writing such a letter when he was killed?
Yes, no, I don't know, was he?
That's what I'd very much like to know.
But you do know.
Oh no, the letter the colonel was writing turned out to be a forgery.
You mean?
I mean, the colonel never wrote the letter at all.
But what about the original letter then?
If we could find that, we would have a very good idea of who the murderer was.
Okay.
Seems you've hit the nail on the head on this one, Hawes.
Well, I didn't say. I
Of course. Just coincidence.
Okay, yes. Well, it's getting quite late. Even so, I have to get ready.
That's all right. Off you go.
Oh dear boy, so very excitable.
Seems a bit upset, doesn't he? I wonder.
I suppose someone has questions, the fish lad.
I've questioned him all right. He saw no one. But if that young rascal Archer did do it, and young Glenn saw him, I doubt he let it on. They're cousins, you know.
But Mr. Archer has a cast-iron alibi.
I know. But I also know what villages are. They'll stick together in more ways than one. Now, I must be going. I'll be back for your wife, and I need to get a word with the doctor.
I'll be on my way too. I came back for a book that Ronnie borrowed from my cottage last week, but no matter. I'll come by later. Inspector, may I have a word?
So the colonel was right about something else when he died. I wonder what?
Something about the murder, no doubt.
Quite right. Oh dear Vic, if you could only find that letter for me. The real one the colonel was writing.
I'll do my best.
Oh, it's quite like old times, isn't it? You and I bonding together. Why, this plant isn't very happy at all. It should be watered every day. Mary attends to it?
As much as she attends to anything.
She's quite raw, isn't she?
She is, but she's all that we're likely to get. In fact, she gave us a notice today.
Oh, indeed. I thought she was so fond of you both.
I think she is, but I think Lettice's papa might have upset her.
Well, that's a very spoiled child. Oh dear. I've been stupid. Yes, perfectly possible all the time.
I beg your pardon.
Oh, nothing. Just an idea that occurred to me.
Can you tell me?
No, I must go home and think it over.
Oh, hello, Miss Marple.
Oh, hello, Griselda. I just ran across with some raspberries for you.
Oh, how kind. You're not going. Stay and have some tea with us.
Oh, no, thank you, dear. I had mine half an hour ago.
Well, how's the private detective agency going? Any clues yet?
Oh, dear Griselda, she will have the jokes. Well, I flatter myself I am, how shall I say, putting two and two together.
Gosh, don't let the inspector hear you. He'll be furious.
Oh, but the inspector and I work on different lines, Dennis. He looks for clues in facts, while I look for them in human nature. Good afternoon.
Dear Miss Marple, certainly is an old busybody. Well then, tell me the worst.
The worst? What about?
Mary, of course.
Oh, she's staying.
Oh, Len, you've been clever.
I think so too. She called me sir. Twice.
She did. What was that all about?
Letitia's beret.
The Mrs. Brownriggs are having iron bars fixed on all the windows.
And booby traps stuck in the garden.
Good heavens.
The doctor's coming up the drive.
Let him in, Mary, will you please?
Oh, he'll find his way in. I leave the door open permanently these days. There now, that comfy?
Yes, Mary, thank you.
Ah, there you are. Who've been bumping off today, Mary?
Doctor, how you do take on! I do wish that Mr. Pickles would come down here. You wouldn't give him half as good as you've got. Give him the money, Barney!
Cup of tea, Doctor.
That's just what I would like. Why on that? They've been questioning you yet.
No, not yet.
The inspector tells me that they traced that Abbott hole of yours down to the north lodge of the hall.
Indeed, isn't that the empty one?
Yes, they're awful careless. They always leave it open. Anyone could go in and telephone without being seen.
Someone, of course, who knew that it was empty.
In other words, a local.
They've also traced that one that upset MC Price Ridley so much.
Oh no.
Gosh. And that came to the most surprising of places, Lawrence Redding's cottage.
But he was in the studio with Anne.
Exactly. All very mysterious. If it hadn't been for the murder, it would have all just seemed like a practical joke. The Memphis call, I mean.
Doctor, if you suspected who the murderer was, would you give them up to the law?
What makes you ask that, Padre?
Oh, nothing in particular. It's just that with the murder on my mind, I'm beginning to wonder how you'd feel.
I should do my duty. At least, I hope so.
The question is, with your theories, which way do you believe your duty lay?
That is a question that comes to most men sometime in their lives, and each man has to decide in his own way.
But you don't know.
I don't know.
Talk about ignorance is bliss.
Thank you, my girl.
You know, there was a man in town tonight who made a living out of tying knots and bits of string. And I thought he was daft enough, but oh no.
She doesn't like policemen, that maid of yours. I hope I'm not intruding, but there's something I forgot when I was here just now. Do any of you recognize this?
It looks like Letitia's beret.
Oh, thank goodness that showed up.
Where did you find it, Inspector?
From Miss Archer. She suddenly thought it might be of importance. She found it in Lawrence Rain's cottage the day of the murder.
Well, why shouldn't it be there?
No reason, I'm sure. But I just wanted to check up and see what day she was wearing it. If she was in Lawrence Rain's cottage the day of the murder. Why?
That's the trouble with murder. All sorts of other things keep cropping up.
You're right there, Doctor.
The scandal has been unearthed in this quiet little village since last Wednesday evening. May I use your desk?
A cup of tea, Doctor. I know it's a bit late, but meals here are always peculiar.
No thank you, Mrs. Clement. I actually want to ask you a few questions.
Me? Well, fire away, Inspector. I'm in the box.
You were in London the day of the murder, were you not?
That's right.
What train did you say you caught back?
The 5-5, of course.
Are you quite sure?
Yes, I always catch it.
Mrs. Clement, the 5-5 on Wednesday was held up with a breakdown and did not arrive until well after 7:30.
Well, perhaps it was a bit late.
Oh no, you arrived here just after 7.
Did I? Well, then I must have caught the earlier train. I don't remember doing so. Are you sure?
Of course, Monsieur Griselda. We were very conscious of the time that evening.
Oh, dear, how silly of me. I caught the 4:30.
But then you would have been home earlier.
Earlier, but I didn't catch the bus home. I walked.
Walked?
Yes, darling. I walked through the woods. I needed some air.
Did anyone meet you?
I'm sure lots of people did. Why is it so important?
The inspector's trying to establish your alibi, Griselda.
Alibi? You mean for the Colonel? But I didn't arrive home until after you'd all gotten here.
That's just what the inspector wants to know, dear.
Me? Kill the Colonel? Well, that's absurd.
Did you meet anyone walking home?
And let me think.
I did. I
That's
saw her.
right.
She was.
We met on the towpath.
The towpath? That's the long way around.
I don't see much to it. A bit longer perhaps, but much prettier.
Where did you meet each other?
Well, it was.
Just by the willows.
Are you sure?
Yes.
What time was this?
I don't remember.
I don't either. It was a bit late, but
Well, after all, the boy did get home much earlier than you.
Yes, I had my bicycle, so I went on ahead.
Is this correct?
Yes, of course.
In the future, Mr. Clement, you must be a lot more careful with your fox.
I will indeed, Inspector.
Now, Mr. Clement, I must be going. May I go up this way?
Yes. I'll come along too. Thanks for the tea, Griselda.
Well, I suppose we can finish our tea in peace now. Where's Ronnie?
Oh,
Mary, what is it?
I just thought of something.
About the murder?
Yes.
Well,
Well, that evening when I was looking out for Len. Oh no, not Len the Reverend, Len the fish boy. Leastways, he thinks he's a man because he's 17. Think he can joke around with all those girls like he was well after 6 o'clock.
Go on, Mary.
Oh, you mean get on with it? Well, I was waiting by the back door, minding my own business, and I heard...
what?
A sneeze.
A what?
A sneeze. And don't try to tell me, sir, that I'm mistaken.
I wouldn't dream of saying so.
My hearing's the best part about me.
Well, why wouldn't you hear a sneeze, Mary?
I heard one coming from the direction of the garden, near those windows there.
And?
The murderer must have been concealed in the bushes.
Thank you, Mary. You've been a great help.
You think so? It was quite a while after I let the colonel in.
Ronnie, you haven't had your tea.
Oh, I don't want any. Thank you, Griselda. And it's time I head off to the church. I'm looking forward to your sermon, sir. Evensong is very solemn time.
Solemn time, yes. Time when it's easiest to reach people's hearts.
Well, you can always do that, sir.
I?
Yes, I know what Ronnie means. You seem a different person standing up at the altar. Apart and yet somehow very understanding.
Aren't I always that?
Yes, but this is different. I can't explain it.
Well, I understand. Shall I go on ahead, Mr. Clement?
Yes.
Oh, and I'll see that Willie Simpson doesn't bring his white mice under his surplice.
Thank you. When did this come?
I'm not sure. Dennis, did you bring it in?
No.
Mary must have brought it. Who's it from?
Phil.
Good gracious, whatever is it, Len?
It's an anonymous letter.
What about?
Lies, obviously.
Len, what is it?
It's a malicious attack.
Len, what is it?
Really, it's nothing.
Why was the vicar's wife seen coming out of Lawrence Redding's cottage the night of the murder? There's some that would like to know.
I really wish you hadn't read it. The whole thing is absurd.
It's not absurd.
What do you mean?
Someone must have saw us. Me.
Well, Griselle, if you...
Dennis, please leave me to my own affairs.
You went into Redding's cottage last Wednesday.
Yes.
Whatever were you doing there, and in heaven's name, why didn't you tell me?
It wasn't important.
Griselda, you must realize we're dealing with murder. You were just questioned by the inspector, and you deliberately withheld
Darling,
information.
it had absolutely nothing to do with the murder.
It was Redding's cottage that you went into, and Redding's gun that was used.
I'd have to be pretty snappy to get all the way from the cottage here, even on a bicycle.
Perhaps. But you must not withhold information. Now let's get down to it. What possible reason could you have for going into his cottage?
Darling, it had absolutely nothing to do with the murder.
Then what's the explanation?
There isn't one.
You do realize that a similar letter is bound to be sent to the inspector. You will be questioned by him and then in court.
Darling, I just went to see Lawrence. I called him on my way home from the station, but he wasn't in, as you well know.
You didn't tell me.
If I told you that, I'd have to tell you the rest.
The rest?
Yes. You see, I knew Lawrence in the Oldlet days, long before I met you.
You didn't tell me.
I know. It all seems sort of silly now, but I had a crush on him in a rather adolescent way. You know how things can be when you think you might be dead at the next moment? And all that.
Don't believe it, you're only
It's
saying
very true,
this.
Dennis, really. There was nothing wrong about it. Just, you had so much trust in me that when Lawrence came to live here, I didn't want to set up any doubt. You know how things...
You don't know me very well, do you?
I suppose not. But then again, I never really known a good person before.
Darling, you must realize that in a community like ours, your every move is noticed.
But darling, it was all so innocent. I just wanted to pop in and talk about the old times. You know, some of us rather miss the war. but were afraid to reminisce about it in front of others.
Darling, if you want me to help you, you have to tell me these things. I love you and I want you to be happy.
And I am happy. Never was anyone so happy.
There's the parson's bell.
So it is. I must get my things. Don't forget your note for the servant, darling. Then, you do understand, don't you?
Of course. Get me my cassock, Dennis, please.
You do believe her, Uncle Len?
Why do you ask?
I wish they'd find the murderer. All this knowing isn't fun, really.
Whoever killed the colonel will be found, whoever it may be.
Uncle Len?
Yes?
Nothing.
Has he gone?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
That was the first time I've ever lied to him.
Oh, there you are. I've been waiting for you all through the service.
I'm sorry, darling.
I thought we'd arranged for you to leave before the end.
It's not over yet. We're still singing the last hymn. Lawrence,
Well, what's the matter?
the vicar preached the most frightening sermon this evening. I wanted to get away, but I couldn't. It was terrifying. I've never heard him speak like that before. He seemed inspired.
The vicar is no fool. He was probably just taking advantage of the tension in the air. Oh, darling, don't let's talk about it. They'll be back in a minute.
Oh, darling, it's been so long without seeing you. Sometimes I feel I'll go mad if I don't see you for just 1 minute. But Lawrence, why won't you let me come to your cottage?
You know that would be foolish with things as they are.
I suppose so. But I can't stand it much longer. I can't.
Now, darling, everything will be cleared up, I promise you, and then we'll be free. Free to get away from this bastard village.
I don't think we'll ever get away. I don't think we'll ever be free. If only you felt the hostility around me in church this evening.
You're letting your imagination run away with you.
Lawrence, you don't understand. He was my husband after all.
Look, Anne, we love each other. That's all that matters. You do trust me. You do believe in me, don't you?
You know I do. I love you more than I've ever loved anyone before. The only time I feel safe is when I'm with you. But darling, we won't ever get away. We won't ever be happy. I know we won't.
Of course we will. We'll have money, we'll travel. We'll go as we've always wanted and bask in the sun.
Good idea! I think I'll come too.
Lettice, why have you followed me here?
Well, you could have meant it when you said you felt faint. Anyways, the service is over now. For you. I wonder what the vicar was getting at in his sermon. I think he knows who killed Father and was trying to get them to confess. I felt quite guilty myself.
Don't be silly. Why did you come here?
I've told you. Plus I had to look after my one and only stepmother, didn't I? And if it comes to that, why are you here with Lawrence?
You know perfectly well, Griselda asked us both to come in for a glass of sherry.
Well, I have never seen the church so crowded.
Evidently, Griselda's asked after the old biddies too.
Although it's probably due to all the unfortunate publicity we've been getting.
Have you seen the Sunday papers?
Lettice!
We made headlines in every one.
Well, I did happen to see my Nellie's News of the World.
Oh, I bet you see it every week.
Your presence in church is a most unexpected tidbit for the sightseers, my dear.
Thought it damned lucky of you myself. Snap your fingers at them. That's the only way to deal with gaping fools. Always done it myself.
Dennis, you haven't talked to me in a while. I think you're scared of me.
Bosh, I'm not scared.
But I haven't seen you since yesterday.
Oh, it's Uncle Len. There you are. Uncle Len, have you seen Griselda?
She asked us all to come in for a drink.
Isn't she here?
No.
I saw her beetling off towards the towpath.
Oh well, one can forgive bad manners when they go with a pretty face. It's when the faces get a bit long in the tooth.
Oh, how quite right you are, dear Mrs. Price Ridley. Now, Vicar, I've never heard you so eloquent, so passionate in your speech. It was so different.
Reminded me of those American Southern preachers in the pictures. You had them all voting.
Peace. Don't hold with emotionalism in church. Don't hold with it anywhere. Seen a demented mob burn down a whole bazaar before now.
Don't hold up the dialogue. But I wasn't myself tonight.
Oh, poor dear Vicar. So much on his mind.
Well, as Griselda's not here, shall we have some drinks? Monty, will you attend to them, please?
Yes, of course, but I'm afraid I'm not very good with drinks.
I'll help you, Ronnie.
I never meant to take it. It's truth I didn't. My Mr. Archer's just busted mad with me coming and telling you, but he went at the church this evening. He didn't hear you. I just gotta be forgiven. I just gotta.
Mary, whatever is the matter? Stand up.
I wouldn't sleep a wink. I wouldn't, not with it on my conscience. Not after what you said in your sermon. My Mr. Archer's mouth does love a bit of colour.
What did you do? What did you take?
The base with the torquay on it. Please, sir, can you forgive me?
I think so, Mary. I think so. Come along. Don't worry about it.
Gosh, whatever vase did she mean?
Oh, surely it's not that vase of yours, dear Mrs. Price Ridley. The one that shows up at all our rummage sales?
Certainly not.
Oh. Well, who was it, Mr. Hawes, who said that good will be the final goal of ill will? Yes, I believe we're all a bit overwrought. I think the sermon's got us all fired up. Oh, no thank you, Mr. Redding. I believe we feel the same way before a monsoon breaks.
It's not the same feeling at all.
I'd like some sherry too, Lauren.
No, Lettice.
Why not? I do drink, you know. Why, the other night when Dennis and I went out to dinner, we had an entire bottle of champagne, didn't we, Dennis?
Oh, it was only for a gag. I thought it tasted awful.
Champagne. Really, Lettice, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Ashamed? Look who's talking. Winding father around your little finger so he left you most of the money? Suppose it came to me. Be a different story, wouldn't it?
I suggest you keep quiet.
Pay no notice of her, Lawrence. It's one of her joys in life, trying to make me lose my temper.
I wonder if the money had come to me, Lawrence wouldn't be going after you so passionately. He was quite keen on me until...
Young lady, you're asking for trouble.
The least he could have done is wait until all this had cleared up.
Lettice, be quiet.
No, I won't. You can stand that old hog and self-possessed when other people around, but it's different when you're alone with him, isn't it? I've seen some things. Poor silly father had known what had gotten into when he married you. You're nothing but a talk!
Lettice?
It's all right, Mr. Clement. I was just going. Foul deeds will rise, though I'll overwhelm them to men's eyes.
Dear, dear, how very self-willed.
I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Clement. I don't know what I'm going to do with her. She hates me.
The child should be sent away for a while.
Come along and I'll walk home with you.
If you don't mind, I'll go by myself. Say goodbye to Griselda for me. I'm very sorry about all of this. I'm afraid the outburst has been brewing for some time.
You know, it's your fault, Vicar. That overcharged sermon of yours. She's in for a lot of trouble with that minx. Girls are a damn nuisance from the day they're born. Well, as Griselda doesn't seem to be making an appearance, I wonder where the devil she is.
I'm afraid I have no idea.
Well, nothing would induce me to go for a twilight walk by myself at the moment. If only there were snakes and tigers in the jungle. And take darn good care too, I don't run into any clues. Doesn't do to know too much while the murderer is still at large. And you should be more careful.
Oh, me, dear Mrs. Price Ridley.
Yes, you. Well, I'm going home and I shall keep to the middle of the road.
Oh, well, just a moment, dear Mrs. Price Ridley. I'll come with you and see you safely to your doorstep.
I'll come escort you both.
Well, thanks for the sherry.
It's getting dark. I do wish Griselda would come home. Maybe I should tell the inspector.
Maybe.
Hello. Yes, it is. Oh, hello. Mr. Abbott. Yes, I can come. Right away. I'm afraid poor old Abbott is much worse. Mrs. Abbott wants me to come right away.
Oh, Mrs. Abbott?
Good heavens! Whatever is the matter?
Well, are you sure it was Mrs. Abbott?
Oh, come. If it was the murderer luring me away again, surely he would use the same name as before.
Well, yes, of course, but it's strange.
Everyone seems a bit strung up this evening.
It's very errorless. Oh, God.
The storm is getting nearer, though.
Yes. I should take my raincoat. Have another drink ready. Tell Griselda I'll be back as soon as possible.
Right. Care for a drink?
No, thank you.
Mind if I have one?
No, of course not. Oh, God!
I really think you ought to have a drink or something.
My head hurts as though it'll burst, and the pain in my eyes.
What about one of those tablets of yours?
Well, perhaps I better take one. I'll go get the container. I'm afraid I'm not a very strong person. Mr. Clement told me to get your poems that I borrowed from you a while back. I'll get those as well.
No hurry. Did you enjoy them?
I found them a little disconcerting.
Blast! Oh, hello, Griselda.
Oh, hello, Lawrence. My goodness, where is everyone? I thought you'd all be having a drink and a good old gossip.
So we were, until Sweet Lettice had to be more than usually unpleasant and break up the party.
Oh dear, how dreadful. I should have been here. Terribly sorry. Where's Len?
Called to the Abbott's farm.
Abbott?
Yes, scared of another murder too.
No, I don't think so. It is a funny coincidence.
Well, why don't you go catch him? He's only just left.
No, I'm much too tired.
Then how about a nap?
No, I'll be all right. It was just Len's sermon.
Oh, not you too.
I didn't like it. I've never known him to be like that before. He seemed... don't know. I need to think about it, so I went for a walk.
You'd have made a good actor. Where'd you go?
Along the towpath.
Oh, to call on me.
What do you mean?
Well, the towpath does run right past my cottage.
Why would I want to call on you?
What about last Wednesday evening?
I see. So you mean you got...
Yes, I got a letter. Did you go to my cottage, Griselda?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I did.
Oh, Griselda, how nice. You haven't forgotten.
There wasn't very much to forget.
Oh, come now, I remember that night. You were wearing a green dress.
Now, Lord, stop it. That's all over.
With that hair of yours, you look so...
No, there's no use trying your charm on me. You're wasting your time.
But you did come to my cottage. You did run the risk of being seen. Surely.
Oh, Lawrence, don't be silly. I didn't go to see you.
Who'd you go to see then?
Suppose I do owe you an explanation. Didn't want to tell you or anyone, least of all Len. Well, went to get Dennis.
Dennis? Why Dennis?
I found a note from Lettice asking him to meet her there. And I know that tramp is heading for all kinds of trouble, but she's not going to bring down Dennis.
So you went down there and you broke up young love's dream, eh?
No, Lettice hadn't arrived when I got there, and Dennis was telephoning.
Seems to have made himself quite at home.
It's quite true. He was the one who called Mems and he. He was upset about things she was saying about Lettice.
So Dennis was Mohammed the Avenger? And I thought in my humble way.
Lawrence, don't be silly. I think the whole town knows how I feel about Len.
You do love that middle-aged husband of yours, don't you? Life can be pretty simple for some people.
That's just what happened when I met Len. Life suddenly became very simple.
Well, I must be off. Oh, the vicar told me to tell you, would you go catch him if you came back in time?
He said that.
He did indeed. You know, I think he's rather worried about you.
He's very sweet. You know, wouldn't tell him for the world, but I really don't deserve him.
I thought I heard you talking to someone.
No, your nerves are in a state tonight. Did you take a tablet?
I'll take one later. I brought the container with me. I've brought back your poems as well. What a lovely collection.
It is, isn't it?
Poetry is a great consolation.
Consolation? I thought you were happy living here.
Well, I'm very lucky to be living with a man like Mr.
You admire him, I gather.
Well, he's a fine preacher.
Oh yes, he can preach all right. Had everyone feeling mighty upset by all accounts.
Yes, indeed, but I'm afraid we're all sinners.
You know, we are, aren't we? I've never really thought about it that way before. Tell me, do you think that if one repents, confesses, he's cleared of his guilt?
Well, it's like what the vicar was saying earlier tonight. Confess and you shall relieve all your guilt.
Nice thought. Get it all off your chest once and for all. Quite a relief, I suppose.
Yes, but tonight I could barely stand.
But on the other hand, if you didn't have to confess, if there was no chance of you being found out, well then why bother? Confessing to God is one thing, but confessing to the whole community, well, everyone knows then.
Well, confessing to God or the servant of God.
You mean to the vicar? Now that is an idea, if, of course, someone had something to confess.
You've been so kind.
Oh, not at all, Ronnie. I like you. Although, you do make me feel rather bounder.
Me? Oh, no.
Oh, yes, you do. You can't help it, but you do. Your sense of right and wrong, now, that's something I haven't got. And your sense of guilt.
Guilt? That's it. My consciousness leaves me a moment's peace. It's like what the vicar was saying. Tonight is the night thy soul... I don't know.
Something's bothering you, isn't there? Why don't you talk to me about it?
If only I could.
Oh, come on, give it a try.
Well, it's the church funds.
The church funds?
Yes, that's what the colonel wanted to see the vicar about. You see, I stole Miss Harlow's pound note. I stole a couple other funds from the church as well.
You?
I know everyone makes the same excuse, but I didn't mean to put it all back. I was expecting some more money later on, and...
So you shot the colonel to keep him quiet?
No, whatever gave you that idea? I could never do such a thing, but don't you see? He would have told everyone. I must confess, I must!
Confess to the vicar?
Yes, but every time I try, I just can't get the words out.
Why not? It's easy.
Easy?
Yes, we'll write him a note and leave it on his desk here. He'll be back in a minute.
You sure?
Of course. Just write down what you feel.
If you say so. I suppose it's all right. I can't think. My head hurts too much.
What about one of your tablets? Where are they?
They're right here. I'm not really supposed to take more than one a day, and I've already taken one earlier this evening.
One more can't hurt. You cannot go on in pain like this. How far have you got?
I want to confess, but how to say it, how to put it into words, I can't think.
Here, take this. Go on, down the hatch.
It seemed a little strong.
It's because I put some soda in it. Tell me, do you like Griselda?
Well, Griselda, it's such a pretty name. It has a purity to it.
You know, I think she rather likes you.
Likes me?
I think she does. She was only telling me about it today.
Well, I suppose she never notices me. I just thought I never...
It looks as though she's not back yet.
Yes, I suppose not. Oh, Ronnie, having another one of his naps?
So it would seem.
Goodness, look at his colour. Is he all right? I'll go get Mary.
Oh, but Mary will be out with Mr. Archer. You'd better get Dr. Haydock.
But Haydock, it's Sunday. Haydock will be with the Jamesons.
Oh, so he is, and they have no telephone.
Just what I was thinking. I'll go on my bicycle. I'll only be 5 minutes.
Hello, Miss Marple.
Hello, Mr. Redding. Poor Mr. Hall seems to be having one of his sleeping fits.
Oh dear, he was alright when I left him. Just started off on an estimate for the fate. I only came back for this book of poems.
It's a sad illness. It's very sad.
The best thing we can do is let him sleep it off. So, perhaps if we left him alone...
Oh, I don't think so. Or wait till someone comes in. Where's the dear vicar?
Called to the abbot's farm.
Oh, indeed.
He may be a while.
Well, I'm staying.
Well, in that case, I'll say goodnight, Miss
And
Marple.
I'd like you to stay too, Mr. Redding.
Oh, why?
There are one or two things I'd like to discuss with you.
Really? Such as?
Well, for one, the Colonel's murder.
Oh. I suppose you know who did it, eh?
Oh, no, not poor Mr. Hawes there, no indeed.
Oh, well, who then?
I'm surprised you asked. I would have thought you knew.
I? What nonsense. If I knew, I'd tell the police. Why don't you? Or perhaps you'll enlighten me.
Colonel Prothero was shot by his wife.
That's a damnable thing to say, Miss Marple.
But murder is damnable, Mr. Redding.
What nonsense. Why did you prove her innocence?
No, that's not quite true. I proved she didn't have a revolver when she spoke to me. That much is true.
Well?
She found it in here, concealed and waiting for her.
And where would it have been concealed?
In that plant, the one which Mary forgets to water. It was hidden there, pushed deep down to the roots the day before the murder, you know.
No, I don't know. Why, it's the most ridiculous story I've ever heard. Anne hasn't got the brains to think such a brilliant idea up. Much less shoot anyone. Why, she hasn't got the nerve.
No, you're quite right. Not without some outside pressure. Pressure from fear or love.
Go on, Miss Marple, I'm interested.
No, as you say, Anne isn't capable of planning it. You planned it all, Mr. Redding, didn't you?
That's a dangerous statement, Miss Marple.
I've been watching you for some time, Mr. Redding. That charm of yours, you turn it on and off too easily. Underneath, you're ruthless. You hid the gun in the plant the day before the murder. I think Mrs. Price Ridley and I was caught in the act of hiding it.
Really, Miss Marple, I'm beginning to feel very sorry for you. Because you must be completely out of your mind.
Oh, no. You got the vicar out of the way with the bogus phone call. You planned the murder for a time when you knew I'd be in my garden. All gardeners get down to it after tea. I was to provide your alibi for those vital minutes. And you knew too that based on the condition of the body, the doctor was bound to testify he couldn't have been shot in the few minutes before you met the vicar. Yes, it was Mrs. Prothero. She had merely to slip in through the windows, take the gun out of the plant and do the shooting. A matter of 2 to 3 seconds. You knew too that I'd see you coming back to the village together.
Tell me, Miss Marple, how did you come to work out all this?
You made 1 or 2 slips.
Indeed.
Firstly, in your story, you said that you and Mrs. Prothero had just met for the last time, yet when you passed me on your way to the village, you looked exhilarated, excited. It didn't make sense. And secondly, that shot in the woods. Mrs. Prothero used a silencer when she shot her husband. No shot could be heard at that time. But it was essential that a shot should be heard at just about 6:30, when you and Mrs. Prothero were both safely inside the studio. You fashioned that with those Lecco day ropes you hear about so much these days, which gives up a report like a gunshot at given intervals. They use it for scaring away birds. It's something to do with the right amount of fuse rope. I'm rather clueless about these things, but you gentlemen are so very clever.
Well, go on, Miss Marple. Go on. I am interested.
Now that day near Jessop's copse, when we had our chat about the fungi, I have just found this. It is one of those Lecco day ropes, with only 1 cartridge attached, and it has been discharged.
I failed to see the connection.
I saw you for quite a few minutes before you saw me that day, and you were looking for something in the exact place where I had found this. That's when I first began to be suspicious.
Miss Marple, you've got it all down pat, haven't you?
Yes, I think I have, except for the silencer. Now that sneeze which Mary heard, it must have been the exact moment when Mrs. Prothero slipped through those windows and shot her husband. I suppose you threw away the silencer for your dramatic confession. A pity. But clever, Mr. Redding. And it was clever, too, your adding the 620 to the note, thereby throwing suspicion onto Mrs. Prothero in the most deliberately clumsy manner. My suspicions really became confirmed when you suddenly became so very friendly with poor Mr. Hawes. You'd have no time for such a person ordinarily, but you needed someone convicted for the murder. And poor Mr. Hawes was the most obvious suspect. So you've turned all your charm onto him until now, when you've done your best to kill him.
Kill him? What are you talking about?
I observed, Mr. Redding, that you've given him all the tablets, and he'd expect anything but suicide.
Suicide? You mean the poor boy's taking too many tablets? What's this? Dear Mr. Clement, I want to confess. So he did it after all. He couldn't bear it any longer, confessed and tried to take his life. We must do something. I'll get Haydock.
Supposing that confession refers to the church funds.
The church funds?
You knew Mr. Hoss was the thief, didn't you?
Why should I know?
Because the colonel would have most certainly been right about him when he died.
What's that to do with me? What is all this? You'll be held accountable for these accusations, and I'm going to get Haydock.
Now, if poor Mr. Hoss dies, although I admit the evidence is very much against him, he hasn't actually confessed that he did the murder. But if that letter the colonel was writing could be found on him or among his belongings, well, you see what I mean, Mr. Redding?
Why, yes, of course, Miss Marple. If you're looking for further evidence, why don't you just come up and check in one of his pockets?
How very, very neat.
Well, what is it?
It's only the letter, planted here by the murderer. Oh, Mr. Redding, you are slipping. Poor Mr. Hall's belongings were searched for just this kind of evidence. Didn't you know? And besides, should the young man have had the sense to destroy it, anyone would, unless, of course, they were saving it for this very purpose. But you've been ingenious, Mr. Redding, most ingenious. And the fake confession's brilliant. And it must have taken a great deal of courage to come into here, with the colonel dead at the desk, pick up the gun and the silencer, and substitute the forged note, all the while listening for the vicar.
Stop it! I've had just about enough of this! You're crazy, you're mad, and you're horribly in my way! What, you're going to talk them into believing this? This poor boy's dying, leaving a confession. Why didn't you have the sense to leave things as they were?
Perhaps Mr. Hoss's confession suits me too. You had no need to seduce Mrs. Proctor in becoming a murderess. The colonel was already dead when she came in. I had already poisoned him.
You? I don't believe it.
I'm not in the habit of lying, Mr. Redding.
You, but why?
He had threatened to turn me out of my house. There's a saying that in Englishman's home is his castle.
So that means when Anne came in?
She did come in, yes. I knew of the colonel's little weakness. I came in through the window and told him that the vicar had asked me to give him a whiskey whilst he waited. That was a lie, I'm afraid.
But whiskey doesn't...
With some weed killer in it.
But, so that means when the police exhumed the body?
Oh, yes. Admittedly, I killed the colonel. But so did the two of you. Now, I suggest, in the circumstances, Mr. Redding, that in the morning, after we've all slept on it, you persuade Mrs. Proctor to make me a gift of my house and my garden, as a token for my welfare work in the village.
Miss Marple, you're worse than we are. You'd stop at nothing.
Most gardeners are like that, I'm afraid. Plants do so hate to be moved about.
Lawrence, there you are. Miss Marple. Lawrence, what are you... Mr. Hawes, what's the matter with him?
Mr. Hawes is dying.
Dying?
And he's left a confession saying he killed your husband.
No, but he didn't. Oh, God. This was you. You've done this. You've killed again.
Again? What are you talking about? I didn't kill your husband.
Oh, I know. I fired the shot that killed him, but you planned it all. You planted the gun. And now Ronnie Hawes. Ronnie Hawes has done you no harm.
Ronnie Hawes is dying, leaving a confession.
You're a real killer. I see it in your face. Let me out of here.
We must go through this no matter who dies.
I'll tell them everything. I'll confess.
Quiet! You will not confess. There's no need for you to confess. It was Miss Marple. Miss Marple.
Miss Marple?
Yes, she's the one who killed your husband. She poisoned him. That's what I've been trying to tell you. He was already dead when you went in there and shot him.
Dead? Of course he wasn't dead. He was writing. He raised his head just before I shot him.
Are you sure?
I'll never forget it. Never.
He raised his head, Miss Marple. So, he wasn't dead after all. There was no whiskey, and no weed killer, and you didn't kill him after all. It was just one of your little tricks, trying to buy you time, waiting for someone to come in. Well, that sort of trick makes me very,
I
very
was afraid for
angry.
the moment that you're going to add me to a list of victims.
Drop that gun, Redding! Stay over there, all of you! Come along and we'll give them a run for the money.
Give me the gun!
Don't come in near, Vicar.
Drop the gun!
You're being very foolish.
Then
One more
you
party
can-
more or less won't make a difference to
Mr.
me.
Redding, put the gun down.
That's very quixotic of you. Very quixotic.
Dead all right. She's beyond my help.
Then see to Mr. Hawes quickly, Doctor. Perhaps it was the kindest way after all, Mr. Redding. You've been very foolish.
Just perhaps I have Dale!
Is Ronnie all right?
Too many of my tablets. He'll be all right. I'm giving him an injection and I'll get him to the hospital.
Hello, is this the inspector? Why, yes, Inspector, it's Miss Marple. There's been an accident, Inspector, at the Vicarage. Well, you remember last week, Inspector, when I was watering my lawn?